Remember Adana? The woman whose husband just ordered her death at a secret shrine. Well, what Chak didn't know was that he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the prey was actually the predator. This is episode 2, and trust me, you're not ready. Adana didn't sleep that whole evening. While Chak returned home around midnight, humming softly, she lay there with her eyes wide open. He had ordered her death. 28 days until the next full moon. 28 days to survive. When dawn broke, Chak kissed her forehead like always. Good morning, my love. Adana smiled back, the hardest thing she'd ever done. She cooked his breakfast, watched him eat every bite, kissed him goodbye. And the moment his car disappeared, she grabbed her phone. Auntie Neoma. It's Adana. I need Grandma Obiagili's box. Today. There was a long pause. Then her aunt's careful voice, you know what you're asking for. Yes, Adana said firmly. I know exactly what I'm asking for. Now let me tell you about Grandma Obiagili. Before Christianity came, she was the medicine woman. And before she died, she prepared a box with everything, every incantation, every secret, every weapon. With one instruction: if any woman in my bloodline faces unearned death, this box belongs to her. That afternoon, Auntie Neoma placed the wooden box in Adana's hands. It was covered in symbols that made her skin tingle. Your grandmother saw this coming, her aunt said quietly. She kept saying, one of my granddaughters will marry a snake. But lions don't fear serpents. We thought she was confused. But she never was she? Once you open this, Auntie Neoma gripped her shoulder, there's no going back. This power doesn't just protect, it transforms. Are you ready? Adana thought about Chak placing her photo on that altar. I'm ready. The next 3 weeks were strange. By day, Adana played the perfect wife. But every evening, she opened the box. First, she learned protection herbs, talismans, and rituals that made her untouchable. But protection wasn't enough. She wanted justice. The box contained the miracles. Her grandmother's notes were clear: when a man sends evil to an innocent woman, that evil returns sevenfold. But it requires something from both the victim and the perpetrator. While Chak showered one day, Adana found his leather bag from the shrine. Inside was a ritual knife with dried blood on it. She took a piece of the wooden handle soaked in his evil intentions. Then she cut a strand of her own hair. Victim and perpetrator. She mixed them with 13 herbs gathered at dawn, ground them into powder, and waited. The full moon was 3 days away. 2 days before the full moon, Chak started having nightmares. He'd wake up drenched in sweat, gasping about fire and blood. Just stress, he'd say, but his hands shook. The next day, he came home pale. I keep seeing shadows. Smelling something rotten. But no one else notices. Maybe you should rest, Adana said sweetly. The full moon is tomorrow. Don't you have your meeting? He looked at her sharply, then nodded. Yes. Everything will be better after tomorrow. That evening, while he took his second shower, he couldn't shake feeling dirty. Adana added the powder to his stew. The miracles, activated by a drop of her blood. She watched him eat every bite. And with each swallow, she felt the universe holding its breath. Her grandmother's notes had warned, the curse reflects his evil multiplied by every person he's harmed. Adana had counted the photographs at the shrine, the names in his bag. Chak hadn't hurt 7 people. He hadn't hurt 70. He had destroyed over 200 lives in 3 years. On the day of the full moon, Chak could barely move. His body ached, his head pounded. But he forced himself up. I have to go, he insisted. Everything depends on tonight. This time, Adana didn't hide. She followed openly with Obioma and Auntie Neoma. When they reached the shrine, the court members were already there, but confusion covered their faces. Because in the center of the altar sat Chike's photograph. Not Adana's. Ah! Dibia Chike! Someone shouted. Why is your picture on the altar? Chike stumbled forward, staring. I didn't. I didn't put this here. Then he began to scream. Not a normal scream, something primal, agonized. His body convulsed and the cult members scattered in terror. Adana watched from the shadows as every curse he'd ever sent returned home. All at once. 200 curses. His skin erupted in boils like the trader he'd afflicted. His legs twisted like the man he'd crippled. His voice failed like Mama Ikin's co-wife he'd silenced. The cult members ran, abandoning everything. Only Chike remained, writhing on the ground, paying for every evil he'd committed. Adana walked forward slowly, standing over the man who planned her murder. He looked up, recognition in his agonized eyes. Adana. How? How did you? My grandmother sends her regards, she said calmly. And she says lions don't fear snakes. By sunrise, Chike was dead. The doctors called it mysterious organ failure. But Umu's village knew better. Some debts can only be paid in suffering. Now Adana stands at his grave without guilt. The pharmacy is hers. The house is hers. Every full moon, she lights a candle at her grandmother's shrine and says thank you. The other cult members. Their evils caught up with them too. Once protection breaks, everything comes due. Adana never remarried. She learned the most important lesson: the most dangerous woman is the one everyone underestimates.